Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock and we'll get started shortly. I'm going to give about another minute or so for any additional people to come in. And my hope with this is that we can record it or get a recording. I don't see an option for me, so. We will see. If I'm able to get a recording for this, then hopefully I'll be able to send it out or have certification and get it sent soon. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we're at 10:01, so we'll go ahead and get started. There's a lot I'm hoping to be able to cover everything in regards to what needs to be done on SIG, and then do a live demonstration and go over resources and everything that is needed. The commission had submitted to the Office of Administrative Law change in regulations that if passed starting January 1st of 2023, the documents like PIP, STIPs, emergency documents, and TPSLs would need to be recommended online. So this is kind of to prepare us for that potential if those regulations are passed. So let's go ahead and get started here. One of the very important things to do is our CTC online webpage is going to be the Credential Information Guide, so the SIG. This is a semi-private website for credential analysts, and it contains forms, guides, checklists, and communication resources. So this is a really good spot to go to if you are new to the online recommendation system. It also has checklists and forms in regards to like the PIPs and STIPs that would need to be included in attachments. Same with like the emergency, like renewals for the emergency clads or for CLAPs. Those would need to be included as well, and those can be found on the SIG. So here's the information for the website for the SIG with the login information, the SIG 2011, the password is CTC guide, and then in the SIG, you'll select the CTC online in the left-hand menu. So if you're in the SIG, you'll click in the resources portion and then go down to the CTC online processing recommendations. And this is where you'll be able to find the forms to add in the authorized designee and the authorized submitter, the CTC online resource guides. One of the things that will need to be done if you have not already submitted it to get set up to submit the online recommendations is the form CL896, which is to add or change an authorized designee, and the CL897, which is to add or change an authorized submitter. If you already have an authorized designee, then that designee will need to submit the forms CL897 to add or change the authorized submitter. Anytime a new document or a new authorization area is needed to submit online, so for example, if you have not already submitted a recommendation for a PIP or STIP and you wish to do so, then the CL897 will need to be submitted to add that particular document in order to submit the recommendations. Similar to like our emergency TK permit that was just released, if you're wishing to submit those online, your authorized designee will need to submit the form CL897 to add that additional area for either the authorized, for any of the authorized submitters, or to add the authorized submitters for any of the recommendation areas. Those forms are submitted to our CTC online, and they're the ones that will create your user ID and password if you are brand new to the recommendation system. If you are already existing in the system, then they'll add in the new authorization areas or the new documents that you're wishing to recommend for. So these forms you'll need to use when you're changing responsibilities or access, when you're changing or deleting the authorized designee or the authorized submitter. These forms will need to come directly from your work email to our CTC Online email address, which is ctconline@ctc.ca.gov. Within the CTC Online resources, there's some checklists that you can also review, and some of those will be the CTC Online roles and responsibilities, the review your organization and keep your CTC Online user list, or you can review the organization's professional preparation program list. There's some extra resources that are located on SIG, such as the online alerts and news flashes that can provide users with up-to-date information on features with their online system. It also has the list of frequently asked questions as application checklists, and then the CTC Online recommendation credential types and codes. Also has the user guides, and these user guides have an overview for submitting recommendations, printing documents, how to export recommendations that you've submitted. It also has information for educators or how you can help educators to complete an online recommendation, and the educator page overview with a legend. There are two different types when you log into your CTC Online recommendation page, and I'll show you those options very shortly. So they have the approved institutions, which the approved institutions can recommend for a credential based on the completion of a preparation program or a clear program. Some examples for those would be a multiple subject, a designated subject, people personnel services, or intern credentials. The approved institutions can also do added authorization, such as the CLAD certificate, and added authorization in like special education or for the career technical education credentials. The main one that we're going to be focusing on today is going to be for the authorized agencies, and those can be, you're able to recommend for the 30-day substitute permit, the provisional internship permit, the short-term staff permit, the general limited assignment permit, the special education limited assignment permit, our emergency permits, such as the emergency CLAD, emergency bilingual, the emergency resource specialist, the emergency teacher librarian, and TPSLs. And with that, we'll go ahead and stop our PowerPoint because we have reached the part for the live demonstration. So let me switch screens here. Just give me a moment. So with hopefully you all can see my screen here. So I have already logged in. So when you are set up as the authorized submitter, CTC Online will go ahead and give you a user ID and password. You can use those to log in to the page. If for some odd reason you're having issues with your user ID or password, most likely password issue for the authorized submitters, you'll want to contact CTC Online to help you with resetting your password, or if you're stuck in a loop, they'll be able to help you. When you've logged in, you'll see a few different tabs. There's the search tab, the application tab, and the educator profile portal. To submit the recommendation, you're going to want to select the application tab. Now, once here, you'll get to the Social Security and date of birth. There's some other things that you'll be able to see. So on the right-hand side, you can see all the different types of documents that have been recommended, and it gives the name of the person and the status of that particular recommendation. Right below the Social Security number and the date of birth, it also gives you options. You can either go to your recommendations or you can go to your organization's recommendations. When you're entering the social and date of birth, if you already know the person has a profile with the commission, so they already hold a document with us, you should be able to put in the social and date of birth and it'll go directly to their profile. If you enter it in and it's saying, oh, you have to re-enter in again, there might be a typo or the numbers were entered in incorrectly. So definitely go back, double check the numbers and then re-enter them. If this is a brand new person, they don't have a profile with the commission and it's the first time that they're being recommended for a document and their profile is being set up, it'll prompt you when you enter in the social and date of birth to enter it twice. Then you'll have to enter in all the educator's information. So we're going to go ahead and enter in our test person. So enter the social and date of birth, and when you hit recommend, it'll bring you to this person's profile information. So it has the person's name, email, phone number, county, district of employment, and their fingerprint status. If this was going to be for a brand new person that did not have a profile with the commission, you'll click on this create person button. Right now it's grayed out because we already have the info. But when you hit create person, then you'll be able to enter in all of this information. From here, we'll click on the next button. And sometimes our system is slow. Hopefully, it doesn't go too long. Oh, there we go. Okay, so when we are in the file, it gives us the two different options for completing the recommendations here on the left-hand side, the approved institutions and the authorized agencies. So again, the approved institutions would be if you are a commission-approved program, preparation program, or a clear program, and you're recommending the person for a credential, such as the CTE credential or a multiple subject credential, upgrading to the clear. Adding an authorization, those would be done through the approved institutions. The authorized agencies is what we're going to select because we're going to do the recommendation for the PIPs, STIPs, emergency documents, TPSLs, and so on. If you see here on the right-hand side, you can also confirm that you're in the correct profile because it'll have the person's name and information. It'll show the documents that they currently have, the authorization for the document that's highlighted, and any of the renewal information. So we'll go ahead and click on Authorized Agencies. So when we're here, we know we're going to be recommending for a brand new document. We're going to click on Go to Create Document. If you've already started a recommendation and you know that it's been started and there's just a couple of things that need to be fixed, you can go to Edit Document if the one that you are wishing to correct is highlighted and has not been recommended yet. So let's go to Create Document. From here, we're going to want to click on the New button. Everything that is not grayed out needs to be filled out. I know it doesn't have the little star, which is for a mandatory field. The county of employment also needs to be filled out. So anytime that there's a white section, it needs to be completed. So for issue date, we'll go ahead and just put today's date in. Remember, when you're doing the recommendations, those may be backdated the 90 days. So our document title, we're going to click on the little pick applet, which is the little search icon. The cool part about once you're in it, these categories here can be reordered. So you can just drag them however is going to make the most sense to you. When you log out of the system, when you log back in to do the recommendation, it should save how you reordered these categories. You'll want to definitely make sure that the one that that's highlighted yellow is the one that you want to recommend for. Also with these categories, they are sortable. So if you know the particular document that you're looking for, you can sort by the document description or even the program name. So So in this case, we'll just go ahead and we will select, we'll do a step. So I'm going to sort it. And need to move over a little bit because we have a lot of documents that are available. So here are my options for the step. So we have the first time new type category, and then there's also the ML for the multiple subject, the SL for the single subject, or the SE for the ed specialist. I'm just going to go ahead and do a first time multiple subject. And so I know that's highlighted here. If I wanted to switch it, I can just select anywhere in the document and it should highlight yellow. But I'm going to go ahead and go do the first one. When you have the correct document highlighted yellow, you want to click on OK. And then the grade areas automatically populated based on what I selected. And then for the county, you want to select the pick applet. And these categories, again, similar to the document titles, these are, you can switch up the categories, reorder them, however it's going to make the most sense. And we'll just go ahead and select a county. And then click on the Go button. When all the white areas are filled out, click on Save. When you click on the Save button, the authorization for the English learner automatically populates and the renewal code automatically populates. With the authorization, you'll need to add in the additional subject area. So to do that, we'll click on New. And then we should be able to pick on the Pick Applet, and the code should appear here. Now, if for some odd reason you're doing like the single subject or like an ed specialist and the authorization code that you're looking for is not in this pop-up window, double check to make sure that when the form CL896 was submitted to add the authorization or to be added as an authorized submitter, that the particular subject area was added. If it hasn't been and you're like, oh, I really want to recommend for theater now, you'll need to have your authorized designee submit the appropriate forms to get that authorization added. The only exception to that is for the new ed specialist disability areas, so should have automatically been added if you're already able to submit recommendations for the old disability areas. So I'm going to make sure that when I'm in here, this pop-up window, that the correct authorization code is highlighted yellow, and I click on the OK button. So this has now auto-populated in the gray area based on what I selected. The added authorization date does not need to be filled out with these ones. So I can go ahead and just click Save. When I do that, now I can see that both my English learner authorization and now my code for our multiple subjects, general subjects, is listed here. I know with the STIP, it is a restricted document, so I need to add that restriction here at the bottom before I click on Next. So to do that, I'm going to click on New. I'm going to select my organization type. I'm just going to do a school district. And then if you already know the name of the school district, you should be able to just type it into the box, or you can pick on the Pick Applet for the pop-up window and it'll give you all of your options. So we're just going to click here. So I typed in it and then I clicked on the tab button and it auto-populated into our boxes. So now I see that all my areas are completed. I can go ahead and click on the next button. From here, this is where we're going to add in our attachments. So we're going to click on attachment. Click on New. And then the attached name, that you can choose any file. So we'll just click on this one and then hit open. And then it should populate into the attachment name. And then you can type in any of your comments. So if this is supposed to be form CL 896 or 896, you can type in that, and then you can click on a save button. And then it'll appear right here. And if you know that all the attachments are completed, then you can go ahead and click on the next button. This is the final review before the document is to be submitted. So make sure that the correct document title is selected here with the correct issue date. The expiration date automatically populates, especially with the short-term staff permit. That is okay. This is not an editable field. So when the recommendation is received by the commission, the analyst that's assigned to it will fix the expiration date based on what is listed on the attached form that has the listed expiration date. I see that my authorization codes, both of them are listed. I have my renewal code and my restriction. So down here, if you notice, the submit button is not active yet because I have not changed this to yes. If you're not ready to submit the recommendation, you can click on the save button and it will save the progress, and then you can go in later to edit and submit this recommendation. But if I know that it's all ready to go, I can select yes, and then I click on submit. Once I hit the submit button, that's when the email will trigger for the educator to log into their educator profile to submit the online recommendation. If you get down to this process and you realize like, oh, that was the completely wrong document and you need to delete it, click on the cancel button and it will completely cancel that particular recommendation and bring you back to our initial page. And then you can go in back to create document, select new, and then repeat the process for the correct one. When you select the submit button, it'll bring you back to this page, and then you can click on authorize agency. If this is for the correct person, then you can go ahead and recommend them for another document. And with that, I can go ahead and show, let me do one more recommendation, and then we can go ahead and go through our live questions. So I'm going to go to create document. I'm going to select new. The issue date, I'm going to do today's date. I'm going to actually do July 1st. I'm going to backdate it. And for this one, I'm going to select the sub-permit. Now with the sub-permit, most of them are probably going to be a first time unless the person already holds a document with the commission. If they've already held a substitute permit with us, a 30-day substitute permit, the educator should be going onto their profile and renewing the document. The other exception is if you are submitting a renewal for like an emergency CLAD or emergency bilingual, it'll be set up as like a brand new document, even though you're selecting like the RI code for renewal. Because our system currently does not copy and tie it, that will be fixed on the commission's end when the analyst is reviewing it. Well, since I have the bilingual authorization submitted or highlighted, I'll just go ahead and do the bilingual authorization as a reissuance. So this person already holds a emergency bilingual. So I'm going to set it up as a new document, even though it's a renewal. And then let's go ahead and select our county. Let's do Alameda County this time. It looks like no one's seeing the screen. Odd. Okay. Hopefully this works. Okay, let me go backwards. I apologize. Okay. Let me go all the way back to the beginning. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see this now. Okay, so click on application when you log in. We're going to enter in our user ID or social and person's date of birth. Select recommend. Then you will be able to see the educator's information. Again, if this is a brand new person, you'll click on the create person and enter in all of this information. Let's go ahead and click on the next button. So we have the approved institutions or the authorized agencies. For this one, the authorized agencies is what we're going to be working on for the submission of the PIPs, the STIPs, emergency documents, and the sub-permits, TPSLs. So when you are here, you're going to want to click on go to create document. If you already have a document in progress and you have not submitted it yet, then you want to go to edit document. But in this case, we're going to go to create document. You'll want to select the new button. And then any of the white fields is where you're going to want to enter in the information. And like I said before, that if the red star isn't there under the county of employment, it does need to be included. So any of the white sections you need to enter in. And we'll go ahead and backdate this to July 1st. And with this one, we'll go ahead and do, I think I was going to do the emergency bilingual. So with this one, with emergency bilingual, we're going to select, this one's going to be a renewal because I know that the person already has a document. We're renewing it. It is going to be set up like a first time document, even though it's for a renewal. So you'll want to select OK. Before we do that, these categories up here are sortable and movable. So whatever way that you order it that's going to make the most sense to you, it should save when you log out and then log back in. It should be in the same order. So click OK. My last step is going to be selecting my county. And then similar to like the document title, these ones are going to be sortable and movable. Let's do this. And let's click on OK. No, I totally did that. Okay. I want a county. Click on the go button and then click on save when I know that all of my information is listed in the white fields. As soon as I clicked on the bilingual authorization permit, the grayed out areas automatically populated. So I'm going to click on save. With the reissuance, nothing auto-populated with this one. So we're going to want to select new for our authorization area. And I know it's going to be for the bilingual Spanish. So click OK. If for some odd reason the area that you're selecting on, say you want to do like the PIP or the STIP, and the authorization area that you're looking for is not here, double check to make sure that that authorized submitter form that was submitted is all the areas that you're requesting is listed. If you want to, for example, add a PIP or STIP for dance or theater, because those are new authorization areas, a form will need to be submitted to CTC Online to add those particular areas. So click OK once that's highlighted. The gray area is auto-populated. Since this is not an added authorization, I can leave this date blank. Go ahead, click save, and that now fills. For the renewal codes, I'm going to want to select New, pick on the pick applet, and then it gives me all of my options for the renewal. So this is going to be a second time renewal. So I want to click on the EM2, click OK. And then with the bilingual authorization or even the emergency bilingual CLAD, there's going to be multiple renewal codes. So I'm going to have to enter in multiple ones. So I'm going to click on my first one, click on Save. I'm going to need to add in my second one. So I'm going to click on the New button. So as you can see, the first one's populated in here. Click on New. And then I'm going to click on my second code, so our P15. Make sure it's highlighted, and you can select any of the areas here to highlight it yellow, or you can just select the very first one. Once it's highlighted yellow, click OK. The renewal description auto-populates. Go ahead and click Save. So now I have my two codes. And then with the emergency documents, and then similar to the PIPs and STIPs, in TPSLs, there's employee restriction. So I'm going to need to enter in this information before I select the next button. So to do the employee restriction, we're going to select New. And then it'll give you the different categories to be able to select the organization type. So we'll just do school district. And you can either select the pick applet, and it'll pull up all of the options, or you can type, if you know the name of the school, you can just type in the white area. If you click on the tab button, it will auto-populate the areas for the county, the organization, and then this is what you selected. If for some reason what you selected in any of these areas is incorrect, you can click on the delete button and it will delete the section. Let me go ahead and input that information again. So when I know that all of my information is in here, we'll go ahead and select the next button. And then this will bring up our attachment page. And then to add in an attachment, you want to select the New button. And then pick the pick applet, and you can click on the Choose File. You can select wherever you save the attachments. You can select it and then click Open. When you click Open, it will add our attachment to our area, and then you can add in any comments that you want to. So if you want to specify that this is a particular form, or if this is for a bachelor's degree, or if this is for the basic skills, you can do so in here, or you can leave it blank. When that is, all the information is in here, click on the Save button. And it says here that we already have something attached based on that name. So if you know that this is a brand new document, you can either click cancel, rename your document, or attach something new. Or if it's the same and you want to replace it, you can click on the replace. Let me select something new. And then just do test, and then click save. So now I can see my document is here. If you attach something that's for that's not needed, or if the file is too big, it'll let you know. It should give you an error message if the file is too big, or if you open it and it's not legible or readable, you can select the delete button, and it'll ask you if you want to delete that record. And you click OK, and then it's gone, and then you can do a new attachment. When you know all of your attachments are done, go ahead and click on the next button. And then from here, you want to double check that all the information that is inputted is correct. So the name of the educator, the type of document, the expiration date will automatically populate. It's not an editable field. So if you're recommending for a short-term staff permit, the expiration date will be corrected on the commission side. So when the analyst reviews it, we will fix the expiration date. Make sure that the authorization code is listed. All of your renewal requirements are here and your employee restriction. If you're not ready to submit the recommendation, you can click on the Save button and it will save for you later. It'll show us in progress on your screen. If you're ready, you can click on the Yes button and then the Submit will activate. When you click the Submit button, as I mentioned earlier, that you'll be able to, the educator will receive an email that the recommendation is ready to be completed through their educator profile. If you come to this screen and you realize that, oh, this is the wrong document, I need to recommend them for something different, you can click on the Cancel button and it'll bring you to the initial page. And you're like, okay, I really needed to actually submit for a STIP. So you can click on the that might have just brought me back to the beginning page. It'll okay. Sometimes that will also happen where you select something completely wrong and you go all the way back to the beginning. All right, you'll want to go to the Create Document. So this way, then you're like, okay, I really needed to submit for a PIP. Then you want to click on the New button, enter in the issue date that you want, and then the PIC applet. You're like, okay, I needed that PIP. Now I find the PIPs, which again, you can sort by the fields. You can sort by the names, the description, the emergency type. I'm going to sort by the document description because I know I want to do a PIP. And the PIPs, you'll have the different options for the first time you type for the single subject, the multiple subject, or the ed specialist. We'll go ahead and do a first time PIP for an ed specialist. And then click OK. And then again, even though it's not listed as a mandatory field, we have to complete this county of employment section. You could either enter in the name or the code and then click on Go. So now I know, like, okay, now I have the right document. I have a PIP. It's a first time. This is my correct issue date. I have my county. Click on Save. With this one, with the PIPs and the STIPs, it's going to automatically populate the English learner authorization and the renewal code. But there's one extra step that I need to do with the authorization, and that's to add the actual auth code for the area that I'm looking for. So let's click on the PIC applet for the authorization code. And then this gives me all of my options for the ed specialist. I'm going to go ahead and do the ed specialist mild to moderate support needs, so our new disability area. If you're selecting the old codes, so like the mild mod disabilities, you want to make sure that will also, you'll need to save it in order to add in the additional added autism spectrum. So let's go ahead and do the mild to moderate support needs. I've highlighted it yellow and then click OK. Then from here, the gray areas will automatically populate. And then I'll want to click on Save. So now I have my authorizations here. But if you're like, you know what, for the PIP, I need them to also cover an additional disability area, You can add that by clicking on the new button, pick the pick applet, and then click on the other one. So let's say, oh, we also need them to do the early childhood special ed if they're covering like TK. So click on that, click OK, click Save, and now I have all of my areas. If you accidentally click on one that's not correct, if it's highlighted yellow, you can click on the delete button. It'll give you the, are you sure you want to delete it? Click OK. And now I just have 2 areas. Our renewal code auto-populated. And then now I just have to do one extra step, and that's to do the employee restriction. And we'll do a school district. Just click on unified. And then that populates. So now I have everything here. We can go ahead and click on the next button. Add any of the attachments that you need to by clicking on the new button. Pick applet. Choose your file. Select what you need to. Click open, and then it will populate. And then when that is completed, go ahead and click on the next button. And then this is the final page to verify that all of the information in here is correct. So I have my document, my authorizations, my renewal requirement, my employee restriction. If I realize like, oh, I needed to add in an additional authorization area, if you click on edit, it'll bring you back to that very first page. You can add what you need to. Click OK and then save. Then you'll need to go back and click on the next button. So once you have that additional information, click on next. It'll bring you to the attachment page. Click next. And then double check this one. Be like, okay, now I have all the correct areas that I want. Click on the yes button. And then click on submit. And I do apologize for the first initial not seeing my screen. Okay, so let me go through the questions. Let's see here. Let's see. If the regulations pass, does that mean that the processing time will mirror the university recommendations? That's a very good question. So with the online recommendations for the PIPs, the STIPs, the emergency documents, and the TPSLs, those are processed like a paper application. So it's within the 50 business days. If the application is submitted to the commission and it's showing as pending, obviously there is the option to do the expedite, but these ones are processed within the normal 50 business days. So the next question is, did I hear you say they have to be done online? Right now it's an option. You can do these online, or you can still send in the paper application. I had mentioned earlier that the regulations have been submitted to the Office of Administrative Law for the possibility of having these being done online only. Those are in the process. So nothing has changed yet. If something has been passed, obviously we'll be sending out either a coded or a credential information alert with additional information. But as of right now, it's either online recommendation or a paper application. The nice part is with the online recommendations is that hopefully there's less corrections that need to be done as opposed to like a paper application. Let's see. Can you post the SIG website and login info? I totally can. So let me find my PowerPoint slide here. And give me a moment. I'm stop sharing that screen. And let me find my other one. And hopefully I do this one correctly this time. Let's see. Okay, let me go backwards here. Okay, so here's the SIG information. So the login is the SIG 2011 and the password is CTC guide. And then if you're looking for the particular forms or the recommendation guides, guidebooks, there's a guidebook for submitting online recommendations, and then there's a specific one for submitting the PIPs and STIPs. The guidebook for the PIPs and STIPs is going to be useful, especially if the information is going to be the same, whether you're submitting the emergency documents, the TPSLs, the GLAPs, or the CLAPs. All the information is going to be the same. Go backwards. So there's that screen for the SIG info. So the new code for the next question is, can you tell us what the new authorization code is for the online emergency TK permit? They're trying to submit the form. So that one is going to be, I believe that info is listed in our CIA. It is the TC15. It does have a really long name. Let me just show this part here. 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 Okay. Let's take a look here. So our new emergency TK, oops. So for the emergency TK, it is the TC15. Right here. So the program name or the document description, like I said, it is really long. It's the Emergency Specialist Teaching Permit in Early Childhood Education, or what we've been calling it. If you hear the Emergency TK Permit, this is what it is. So it's a TC15. I need to put in my date. And the authorization code is the R3EP. So E is an elephant, P is in Paul for that code. And I believe it's also listed in the CIA. But if you need that additional information, you can always send email to credentials@ctc.ca.gov, and we can also provide you with that information as well. We cancel that. Because like I said, the name is unfortunately really long, but it's an emergency TK permit. Let's see. If more employers are going to be recommending, might CTC allow permissions to them to evaluate for BSR, including combined exam and courses? So the if a document is submitted and they're using the combination of exams and courses, when we receive that recommendation, obviously our analysts will verify that information. If they are doing the combination of the exam and courses, we will, especially if they're using like a SAT, ACT, score report, or the AP exams, we will need that original score report to be included with the recommendation. Let's see, can you share the difference between a new credential type and a first time? So a new credential type means that the educator already has a document with the commission besides a certificate of clearance. Like that document is only for fingerprint purposes only. So if they only have a certificate of clearance, their new recommendation is going to be a first time. So I mean, they're being held for a brand new document. A new type, as I mentioned, they already have like a 30-day sub permit, or they already have a child development permit. The new recommendation for like the PIP or a STIP is going to be a new type. If they already if you're recommending for like an emergency CLAD or emergency bilingual, those should automatically be a new type, because that means that the educator already has that credential. Let's see. Next one, if the training only for those who process online recommendations on the CTC website, such as recommending for those teachers who completed induction and other renewal requirements to clear their permit credential. This particular webinar is for those that are looking to submit the non-program type of documents. So the sub-permits, the PIPs, the STIPs, the emergencies, and the TPSLs. But the process, if you're going to be submitting a recommendation for like a credential or an intern credential or upgrading to a clear, the steps are going to be, well, minus the clear. I take that back. If you're submitting a recommendation for like a new credential, the steps are going to be identical, with the exception of you have to add in how they're meeting subject matter. But maybe another webinar we can do training on that one. See, I can only see my CTC page search and login. Would I contact my county to add the other pages, i.e. the application? So if you're an authorized submitter, you should be able to see the application tab. If you don't, I would double check with your authorized designee to make sure that the paperwork to add you as an authorized submitter has been submitted to CTC Online. Because if you are able to submit the recommendation, then that tab should be viewable. Let's see, how we know what authorization codes to choose for renewals. Is there a cheat sheet, or you automatically do this for us? So the authorization codes, like for example, if you are selecting depending on what you're selecting, you may only have a limited number of authorizations to select. So for example, if you're submitting an authorization for emergency teacher librarian, there should be only one authorization code that should be selectable for that particular document type. But on the SIG, there's also information in regards to the authorization codes for and renewal codes for the documents that you're looking at. Let's see, next question. Do we need to delete the previous attachments, or may they stay saved in the attachment tab? Any of the attachments that are in the particular educators tab can remain. Those should not be deleted. If you see in the attachment tab that someone's already had the transcripts in there, or if the form for like the BSR, if the 41 BSR forms being submitted, those are to remain. The attachment tab is for any new attachments. So if you're going to be submitting for like a PIP or a STIP, and you need to add in, like for example, the PIP, you're like, oh, I need to add in the board approval minutes, then that can be attached into that tab, or it needs to be attached into the tab. But we don't need a duplicate of like the transcripts or BSR if those are already in there. Let's see, I'm new to my current position. Do I create an educator account, or is there different login for employers? So there's going to be a different login for employers. The login information, so the user ID and password, is created once CTC Online has processed the paperwork for you to be an authorized submitter. So if the paperwork's been submitted and you don't have your user ID yet, just give it a little bit of time for CTC Online to process that paperwork. If it's already been processed and submitted and it's been a while, definitely send an email to CTC Online to confirm what that's been processed, and then what your user ID and password are. Let's see. I'm hoping that so the next one says, will this webinar be emailed out? Also, how do we receive login to educator profile? So login for the educator, well, if you're an educator, then it's a different profile. But if you're looking at your profile to submit recommendations, that's going to be through the authorized submitter form, and then CTC Online will provide you with that information. The webinar being emailed out, I'm hoping so. Like I said, this is my first time, and I apologize for the non-screen sharing. Not used to that part because it's my very first one through live events with a webinar like this. Slightly different than our office hours. And so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a link for this webinar to send out for you all. That's my hope. I see. LEAs can do this instead of the educator submitting to CTC. Yeah. So obviously any of the documents that I showed here, with the exception of the 30-day step permit, are all employee restricted documents. So these ones should be submitted. If a paper app is being submitted, they should be submitted by the employing agency on behalf of the educator. But yes, this can be done instead of a paper application being submitted. So the nice part is that the educator can complete this all electronically, and the fee can be paid by credit card. So it's definitely a really nice option to use. Take out the paper process altogether. Do you need to fill out the added authorization date for a first-time applicant for a PIP or STIP? No. So the added auth date, when you select to add the authorization code, does not need to be added. This would only be used in, for example, if you're going to be adding an additional authorization on an existing document. So if you're submitting a PIP or STIP, nope, added auth date does not need to be added or included. See, do we use the CL 896 to initially establish online authorizations for agency? So the CL 896 form is needed to establish your authorized designee. So if you're brand new, never submitted online documents at all, you'll need to establish your authorized designee first, and that's going to be the submission of the 896 form. Once an authorized designee is established, then that person will submit the 897 form to establish the authorized submitters. So especially if you're like a brand new charter, or if you're a charter school that's never submitted online recommendations before, definitely do the 896 first, and then do the 897. So for extensions for appeal on the emergency CLAD, those will still have to be paper. Extensions cannot be done online. So if you're requesting an extension on any of our emergency permits, so emergency CLAD, the emergency bilingual, those ones will need to still be paper, submitted to the commission with the appropriate supporting documentation at B. So what about the fees? Are they billed? So the fees, when the educator goes into the educator profile to complete the online application process, at the end, they'll be taken to the payment page where they'll enter in their credit card information to pay the fees online. How would LEAs get a signed TCC from our county office of ed if we file online? So the commission does not need to have the temporary county certificates included with the online recommendations. So if that's something that is particular for the LEAs, then you'll need to keep that in that particular educator's file. But to submit the online, we don't need that particular paperwork. If you want to include it, you can scan and attach it to the file. Like I said, that the temporary county certificates are not needed when submitting documents online. I know we're at our 11 o'clock hour, but let me see if I can answer a couple of more. Are we allowed to use the training, Social Security, and date of birth login to practice? If so, can we post it? Unfortunately, no. That's just a particular online testing one that we use. If you want to practice, you can, when I hit that cancel button, so if you're in a particular educator's profile, as long as you hit the cancel button before the submit button, nothing will appear and the educator won't be notified. And will the PowerPoint be shared to refer back to? I will see about that one, the PowerPoint. What would you advise to advocate for an email-only return process? I'm not exactly sure what that one's referring to. What would you advise to advocate for an email-only return process? Well, if additional information is needed, we do have the process of the letter from the commission being emailed, but the requested information, if you do receive that letter, still needs to be mailed. Our system does not allow you to log back in and attach the requested information. So if additional information is needed to continue processing a particular document that's been submitted online, and that will still be through the mail process. Okay, and if there's any questions here that I did not get to, you can definitely send an email to commission, not to commission, you can send an email to the commission at credentials@ctc.ca.gov, and definitely be on the lookout for additional webinars that we may be doing. We'll be doing in the future in regards to submitting online documents, and we'll be doing another one that will be reviewing particular things that we see with our online recommendations. So thank you all for your time today, and I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I will see about getting a link for this particular webinar to be able to send you all. So thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.